Today we're going to use HTML, CSS, and GSAP to make this a reality in the browser. Hey everybody, what's up? Gary Simon here. So this is the second part of the two-part video series on creating full screen navigations. In the first video that I did 2 days ago, I'll link in the description here, and we discussed the UX concerns, and we also created a prototype of our very own full screen animation and using Adobe XD. And we're going to go ahead and take this prototype and try to create something similar but even better in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. All right. So as always, make sure to subscribe and let's get started. 1 second before we begin, the sponsor of this video is Scrimba. Now, in case you've been living under a rock, Scrimba.com is an interactive learning platform for coders. They've recently launched their front-end development career path, which is a collection of courses that cover HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, and much, much more, as you see. It's over 75 hours of awesome content. There are hundreds of interactive coding challenges, and it's all geared towards helping you go from beginner to someone that's hireable as a front-end developer. So check out the first link in the description below to get 50% off. All right, so first, just to go over the prototype that we created. Here's the desktop version, and we'll click launch it. And again, something like this will occur, except it's going to be cooler. And then we click X and it goes back. And here's the mobile version as well. Click it and ready to rock. Okay, so basically I have Visual Studio Code open and I have a blank index.html with a folder and a main.sas file inside of it. So we're going to use an Emmet abbreviation exclamation point enter. That gives us our initial HTML. We're going to type link enter CSS main.css file. All right, so let's bump this up a notch, Control plus to get that bigger. And then let's go ahead and right click. Or not right click, but choose watch SAS. You're going to need the SAS, live SAS compiler and live server to follow along with this tutorial at least. All right, so let's close that and then right click, open with live server. And at this point, I will go ahead and close those tabs out. And we're going to push this over here because we're going to start with mobile first CSS. All right, and so what that is we first start designing the site based on a mobile viewport, roughly, kind of like this. All right, in that way, then we'll use any necessary media queries, which we hardly have any, honestly, in order to make this responsive and make it work for tablets and desktop. So what we're going to do now is we're going to step into our HTML and let's get our button. You know, when you're dealing with, when you're a front-end developer and a UI, UX person hands you a mock-up, you're going to be switching back and forth. Or if you had a second or a third monitor or whatever, you can have this up here because you want to get everything nailed up right. All right, so we only have a single button on here. So our HTML for that obviously is very simple and for this layout as a whole. So we're just going to use a button element and we're going to say launch it. Ta-da. So we'll hit play and we'll see how ugly it is. We'll get to the CSS after we do the rest of the HTML. Now we actually have to create the HTML or write the HTML as well for all of this stuff right here. All right, so you can see there's going to be a big div that covers the whole screen here, and then just some unordered list items. So first of all, we'll just call that big div overlay. Now I'm using Emmet abbreviations again, so you put a period, enter, that gives you a div class of overlay. And I'm not going to try to explain that much more. I have a little crash course on Emmet, E-M-M-E-T. You can do a search on my YouTube channel for that. We have to have a link for the close button, that little exit icon. So we're going to do A for it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to be class of exit. And then we'll just put in an image source of images / close. That will be .svg. And we're going to have to export that, of course. Exit navigation for the alt. And then, yeah, that's just the image there. And that's looking good. All right, so we're going to save that. Of course, we have a broken image up here because we don't have that. I'm going to go ahead and just pause and get that going here in a second. And there we go, looking very good. All right, so now coming out just underneath that element, we also need to have, I'm going to have actually kind of two divs, to that way it'll let me situate things more. It'll become more clear why I'm using these two parent div containers when we get to the CSS part. So I'm going to have one called menu here. All right, this is the overall container that will contain all of, it'll be our CSS grid container. So it'll be a big container that wraps around all of these individually. And then we're going to have another one for each one of those elements. So menu, container, and then we're going to have a paragraph with a class of category. And we're going to say category like that. And then we're going to use our unordered lists, li, a, href is going nowhere, and then a link can go here. Shift Alt down arrow key 5 times. Actually, I'm going to use 6 because that's what I used in my reference code. And then we're just going to take this and we're going to copy that about, oh yeah, a bunch of times actually. All right, so I did it about 10 times. Very ugly. That's why I love CSS, because that is just nasty looking. All right, so for now, that is it for our HTML. So now let's go ahead and switch to our CSS. All right, so what I'm going to do is now put in just some basic stuff here. So box sizing, border box. I kind of do this every time for every project. And then if you really want to understand what's happening here, I would just go to YouTube to get a good explanation. But basically, when you're dealing with padding and margins and stuff like that, and widths, it can throw things off and create for scroll bars, and this prevents that. We're going to do body, margin 0, and we're going to do height of 100 viewport height, and also a background. And the background is going to be our color code that we used during the prototyping phase in the previous video. And also display, and one thing I want to do really quickly is I want to take our overlay and just display none it, just so we can get this looking like the mobile version in our prototype over here. Like that. All right. So now we have a few more properties. We're going to do display grid. We're going to do a place content center. And then also font family, Nuneato, Arial, and there we go. So also we need to take our button and we need to give that the slightly lighter background color. And I already have these color codes, so we're just going to do background right here. All right, and then of course default buttons are ugly, so we need to do border none. We have to do color white, and we have to do padding of 0.5 em units on the top and bottom, and 1 em units on the left and right. We need to do a border radius of just 2 em units to create the pill container, a font size of 1.3 em units, and then the font family isn't applying itself from the body element, so we're going to do Nuneato here in Arial. And then cursor, pointer, maybe we'll do font weight bold as well. There we go. And there we go. So that's our button. Looks pretty similar to the one that we have over here. All right. So now what we're going to do is focus on our overlay. All right. So now we could take this off and we're going to do a position of fixed. All right. And we're going to do a background of that it's almost a white. It's like a shade off from being white. It's FF, FEFF. It's kind of hard to read. All right. And then we're going to do a width of 100%, a height of 100%. All right. And then also overflow Y is scroll, because when you do position fixed, if you have like this goes down beneath it, you're not going to be able to scroll. So you're also going to put overflow X as scroll, or hidden rather. All right, so now we could see this came back, so we can actually use that. And then padding is going to be 2M units. And pointer events will be none. And after that, we're going to take our exit button. We're going to do position, absolute, right 2M units, and top was 2M units. All right, so we're kind of getting close to the structure here already defined. This stuff needs work here. So let's take our menu, and our menu is defined right here in our HTML. So it's basically the parent container of all these different menu containers right here. So here's menu. So that's going to be a display grid. And here's a really cool one line that will make this all responsive. It's so fun. We're going to do grid template columns. In fact, I have a whole video dedicated on this. Repeat function. We're going to put auto fit for the first parameter, and then min max function for the second parameter of 15 rem units and 1 fractional unit. Now watch what ends up happening when we save this. Nothing changes here. However, it's automatically making this responsive for us. So if I get rid of that and we try doing the same thing, nothing happens. The only other way you'll be able to do that is by using media queries, a bunch of them. So this is an awesome property. You can experiment with this and watch my other video to learn more kind of about how it works. All right, so now let's get the unordered lists working here and styled. So unordered list, list style type none, will get rid of those bullet points. We're also going to do padding 0. All right. Now we're going to take our list item A element. Let me scroll down a bit here. And we're going to say text decoration none. Get rid of the default underline. Color black. Display block. And padding is going to be 0.8 M units on the top, 2 M units on the right, 0.8 units, 8, oh my God, I can't talk, 0.8 M units on the bottom and 1 M unit on the left. All right, and then we're going to say font size 0.9 M units, and then we're going to say and hover on those link elements. Background is going to be RGB, those 3 values that you see there. And if you look at this, oh, that's not working just yet. You know what? I think I screwed this up. Possibly. LIA. Oh, it's because we have pointer events none. Never mind. I'll fix that in a second. We're going to do border radius 0.2 M units. So right now these aren't working because I forgot I put pointer events none right here. And there's a reason I did that, but for now we're just going to take that away. So now we can see these. And then we want to take our category. It's a P class of category. Font size 1.2 M units. Font weight bold. Color is the color, the purple color that is our background. And then margin left is 0.8 M units to be in line with the rest of the stuff. All right, so we're going to change a couple more things, and that is going to be our exit image, which is the SVG graphic right here. And we're going to take the width of 23 pixels, height 23 pixels here, just to scale it down slightly. All right. And that looks pretty good right there. So looking at this, this is what we have initially. And it looks pretty decent. Now, of course, nothing functions at this point. So what we want to do is we're going to take we're going to start focusing on our GSAP. So GSAP is the Greenstock Animation Platform. Just go to Google and you can learn more about that. I'm going to copy the GSAP CDN link, which you can find right here. So if we type in GSAP 3 CDN, go here, we'll just copy this one. We're going to copy the script tag right here. We're going to put it right there. Put our own script tag down here. And then first define about 3 different constants here in JavaScript to give us access to our button, the main launch it button, as well as a few others. So document.query selector is going to be button, just the HTML element of the button. Shift Alt down to replicate that a couple times. We're going to do our overlay, which is the big overlay that, this big white thing. And this is a class, I believe. Yep. And then exit, which is our exit button. All right, so now we have to create an instance of the GSAP timeline. So var timeline equals gsap.timeline. And we can create some defaults in here. So a duration of 1. We can have a default easing type. So if you type in GSAP 3 easings in Google, you will find all the different easings you can use. One of the ones, along with demonstrations, one of the ones that you can use is back.easeout.config2. All right. And I think that's pretty solid right there. Then we're going to create here, well, first, before we get to that, let's create our event listeners for the button. So the button, add event listener. We want to click, arrow function, and inside of here, we can just console log, yay, just to make sure this initial stuff is working. So before we can do that, we have to go back to our overlay and just display none it. All right, so now we get up our console. Let's widen this a little bit. Yay, it works. Okay, so now what we'll do is get rid of that again. And we're going to create our timeline and our animation that's going to work. So we're going to put first as a TL paused is true. And you'll see why we do this in a second. It's just going to make it so it doesn't automatically play. And then we'll be able to call the play method when we need to. So we're going to say TL2. So you can use to or from. So you want to go to these properties we're about to define, or we want to go from the properties that we define. It's up to you. We're going to go to them. So we're going to say overlay. So that's the first parameter is which element you want to target and apply animations to. So it's going to be our overlay. And then we're inside of here, we put in the CSS properties in camel case format. So clip, not path, because this is what it looks like usually in CSS. It's going to be clip path, all right? We're going to say circle. Oops, what am I doing here? We're going to say circle 100%. All right, so we're saying go to that property essentially. Now, what we first have to do is we have to come back to here and we have to put in clip path circle 0%. Now it's going to hide. All right. Now if we put it at 30%, for instance, we'll see it only shows some of it. So we're going to be animating that property with GSAP. So now, oh, in pointer events now. Okay, so we don't need to do pointer events because we don't see any of it anyhow. So never mind that. Okay, so now what we'll do is inside of there, we're going to go ahead and put the next one is TL2 menu container. We're going to say opacity 1, Y, which is vertical. We're going to have it come in from 30 pixels. And the menu container, by the way, is each one of these. So we're going to create a stagger animation, or otherwise known as a sequence animation. And so to do that, we put stagger 0.1, and that's basically a duration between each one. So they're going to come in real fast, one right after the other. And then we're also going to put in a comma and the third parameter is any type of offsets. So we'll go ahead and put minus equals 1 second. And that means this right here will start to occur 1 second before it normally would. If you don't put this parameter in, you'll see how it will affect the animation. This right here won't start until this is fully completed. So you can create offsets right here. All right, so now, and the way this stagger works is when you put it there, it's going to look for every instance of a menu container right here. And by the way, I'm annoying myself because I didn't put double quotes like I did the other one. Okay, so it's going to look for every instance of menu container, and it's just going to animate them in sequentially based on this value and based on what you're animating here. All right, so that's looking pretty good right there. So that's all we need for our animations there. So now with this, we can remove that and we can say tl.play once somebody clicks on this button. There we go. Look at that. So we can't exit out of it yet. And it also, we can come out here, refresh. I keep on trying to click it thinking it's going to work. And that's not working right. That's not correct. Why? Because I forgot to put an opacity 0 on our menu container. So where's our menu container at? Did I not put it? Let's check the reference code. Menu contain. I think I did use it. I'm silly. Yeah, I completely screwed this up. This is supposed to be like this. And then I'm supposed to put another one, menu container, like this. There we go. Sorry about that, people. We're going to put in margin top 2. I mean, it's kind of thought it did look a little bit different. An opacity of 0, and then a translate Y of -30 pixels. So let's try that again. There we go. That's how it's supposed to look. All right. So now let's make the exit button work well here. So now to make this work, all we have to do is just copy this. This is going to be exit. On click, what we do is we could say reverse, but we're going to change this up 1 second. So if we click this and then we click this, first it has to wait for all these, and then that's not good for UX because it's too slow. So we can put in a parameter of like 0.7, and that means it will start from 0.7 seconds into the animation otherwise. So now we click this and then we click this, and it goes by a lot faster. And you could speed that up if you wish, like by putting it up a little bit higher if you wish. And that is it. So let's check it out here. We're gonna look at first the mobile version. All right. Close it out. And then we'll check it out right here, and you get the point. This basically all works and looks pretty solid from here on out. Awesome, awesome stuff. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, make sure to subscribe up. Check out DesignCourse.com and enter your email to be notified when that releases. And I will see you guys soon. Goodbye.